Welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Iain Bethune, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. Thanks, guys, for having me. Yeah, looking forward to having a chat.
Good man. We're here to speak about one thing specifically, but there's a whole backstory. And what we like to do, Iain, is we like to get our guests. We do world famous Young Hearts Run Free research, but we like our guests to tell their own story. So I feel like Julie Andrews, let's start at the very beginning. Tell us about.
Good place to start.
Yeah, thank you for that segue. Yeah, tell us about what inspired you to get into the world of running, and how has your running journey evolved to where we are now?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I've been running for about 10 years now. I got started in 2015, and the reason that kind of came about was actually. So I mean, originally, I kind of grew up as a kind of active kind of outdoors family kind of person, a lot of hill walking. The original kind of sport I was into was whitewater kayaking, so I did that as a teenager and a student. And then I think, like many people, you get into your 20s and early 30s, you've had kids, you're not really as young and fit as you used to think you were. And actually, in 2015 in the winter, my dog got out, ran. I had to chase his dog about a mile, and basically ended up having like a massive chest infection, couldn't breathe. I was off work for like a week just because I'd run for a mile in the cold, and that was like a wake-up call for me that maybe I wasn't as fit as I thought I was. But I was still, I was living in the borders, commuting to Edinburgh. So I was like in the car for 2 hours every day, sitting at a desk all day. And I was like, well, what can I do? Well, I'll just take a pair of trainers and a t-shirt and go for a run at lunchtime. So that's really how it started for me. It was a fitness thing. And I started off literally doing, I think it was about a mile loop around the site where I worked. And then, after a while I could do 2 laps of that. And then, I found there was a local group that would do a monthly race there that was about 4 miles. And eventually I just started kind of trying further and further things. I think I did, might have been in 2016 maybe. I did the Edinburgh Marathon Festival 10K. And then there was a 10-mile race, the Great Edinburgh Run. So I just kind of did that, and then kind of got hooked on the idea of trail running, because I suppose I had the interest in that because I came to running from an outdoors background rather than an athletics background. So I sort of skipped the half marathon, road marathon, and just went straight into trail running. And I mean, I think the first time I ever ran a marathon distance was in a trail marathon. So that's kind of, and it's just kind of grown from there. It was really about, I got hooked on it. It's something I enjoyed doing. I could kind of push myself because I've always been kind of competitive guy, like with myself initially. So I was always trying to go further and go further and go further, and that kind of led into ultras, and then 10 years on, here we are today, and I've just done 3 200-mile runs this year. So things can go a long way in 10 years, I guess.
Things escalated.
We've often heard
quickly.
We've often heard about a guy at work or a guy in the pub, but you're the first person that said a dog was the reason for somebody. That dog's got a lot to answer for, eh?
Yeah, she certainly does. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you've mentioned there about the sort of the big numbers that you've done this year. So sorry, I get too many questions going in my head. What was your first ultra? You mentioned that your first time you did a marathon distance. What was your first ultra or your first trail marathon that you took part in?
Yeah, so actually, so I was living in the borders, and there was a little local company called Dirty Events. They mainly do like triathlons and stuff like that, but they were putting on what they called the Selkirk Ultra. I thought, well, that'd be great. Someone's put on an ultra in my hometown. I've got to go and run it. And it actually turned out the course was 25 miles long. So I think they changed it to the Selkirk Trail Marathon in the end. But in 2017, I went and ran the 50K at the Keswick Mountain Festival. So by that time, actually, I'd moved down south. I was living in Cheshire, And so a lot of the kind of early ultras and stuff I did were in the sort of north of England. But yeah, KMF 50K in 2018 it was. That was my first ultra.
Okay, brilliant. Still a relatively new runner, Stephen. 2015, eh?
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, but it's not as if it sounds as if you were well accustomed with the outdoors anyway, Ian. What about clubs or anything like that? You ever belonged to a running club, or have you been a lone wolf on that front?
Yeah, I mean a bit of both. So when I was living in Cheshire, there was a local running club. I was a member, and used to go to a few of their kind of group runs and stuff. But I mean, even then, and now today, I'm not a member of a club. The vast majority of the running that I do is solo, and that's mainly because I mean, I really enjoyed being part of a club, and you meet great people, and it's good fun to run with others. But in reality, I mean, we have a very busy family life. We've got 4 kids. I'm working full time. So a lot of my runs that I do in training, that's like, I'll park up at rugby training, drop off a kid, go for an hour and a half run while they're training, pick them up. So it naturally just, in order to fit in around family life, you just end up having to do things at your own pace rather than committing to join a club and always going out on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock or whatever it is. So yeah, I would say I've got, I met a lot of good friends through running. Some of them from the club, which is Run Sandymoor down in Cheshire, that I'm still in touch with. Met a lot of people through through the ultra scene, and actually in particular backyard ultras. There's quite a little community around that. And that in some way kind of, it fills the community bit that a lot of people would get from a local club. You see those people at the races. Every year you go to, there's always people that I know there. I've gone and crewed for people that I met through running. I've had people that met me at a race came and crewed me. So yeah, it's been really good in that way.
And when you were saying 2018, did you say that you ran the
50K
Keswick Mountain Festival 2018? Yeah, I'm just getting my timeline in order here. John knows what I'm like that way. Which I'm trying to think when lockdown happened and just where that is in your sort of evolution. Because John's right. So 2015, 10 years ago, you were, going round the block at your work.
Yep.
A 10K quickly accelerated up to a 50K. And we're going to hear about some of the things that you do in the here and now. It's a fair steep trajectory. When did like ultra running come into your sort of sphere in terms of that passion for it as well? That's obviously evolved.
Yeah, I mean, so I heard about ultra running like quite early on in that story. I mean, probably sort of 2017, and the thing that kind of brought it to my attention, I guess, was I saw quite a lot of stuff on YouTube, mainly American stuff. So like, I remember the Ginger Runner being a very big YouTube channel at the time, and I sort of got hooked on some of these, like the big American races like Western State and the Barkley Marathons. I saw all the early documentary stuff on that. And actually, I remember I sent an email to it was like the ultra mailing list, going like, what are the big races in the UK? That I could find out about. And Lazarus Lake from Barkley actually replied to me and said, here's a few races you could look at doing, which is quite cool. And but yeah, like after I did the Keswick 50K, I was then like, right, I want to go and run a 100-miler. So I kind of like picked a couple of races in 2018 and 2019. So I did the Fellsman, which is like it's about 60-something miles, kind of famous race in the Yorkshire Dales. Did that one in 2018, I think. It must have been 2019 because it's a spring race. And I did an 80-mile race with Punk Panther. So again, they're Yorkshire events company. And then in 2019, my first 100-miler was going to be the Leeds and Liverpool Canal race. So it's 130 miles, but it's more or less flat along a canal. And and that I did the absolute beginner error of just going out too fast. My legs felt a bit. I remember I think I walked about 30 miles from like mile 70 to mile 100, and then DNF'd at the 100-mile aid station. But I dragged myself to that point because I wanted to get the 100-miler. And just to fill you in on like the timeline, because you're talking about COVID and stuff. So then that race was cancelled in 2020, and then I came back and did it in 2021 and completed it. Although I'd actually I'd run I think I can't remember now whether I'd actually run a completed 100-miler before that. But anyways, I completed the Leeds-Liverpool Canal race, the 130 miles in 2021.
Some going, man, and some miles. And looking at let's give it the first shout out just now. Miles Together is the company that you run with your wife Julie. And on the website, there's you and Julie's results. It's mouth-watering, inspiring, and a wee bit scary, actually, when you've described about your family, 4 kids, and then going out and doing this as well.
Well, I mean, if you think like 10 years from me going from a mile around the block to running 200 miles, I mean, Julie's progression was even faster. She she'd kind of done a little bit of running after I'd started, and she ran the Edinburgh Marathon in 2019. We did it together. So that was actually my first road marathon, was pacing her on the Edinburgh Marathon. That was kind of her big goal, to go and run a road marathon at the time. And she did that, and then didn't run again for like another year or something like that. And then after after lockdown, she kind of decided that she did want to go and do ultras and stuff, and she actually ran her first ultra distance just as a solo run. Well, I ran quite a bit of it with her, but on her birthday, went out and did 30 miles on her birthday, and then she went and did I think she did a 100k run. She won it. Did a 100-mile run. She won it. Did a 200-mile run, won the ladies' race, and started thinking, actually, maybe this is not just luck. Maybe she's actually quite good at this. And now the two of us, are going to do these mega long runs. And so I mean, we kind of came up with the Miles Together thing in I think it was in 2021, just as it started off as like a blog, just so we were kind of sharing the stuff we were doing. We thought it was a little bit unusual to have a married couple that are both doing these kind of crazy long runs. So we just started sharing race reports and stuff like that. And in the last 3-4 months, we kind of branched out into coaching as well. So that's if you've had a sniff around the website, you've probably seen that as well.
Definitely.
We can put the link to the website into the show notes. The most important question is, do you have spaces available for clients if they want to become coached by Miles Together?
Absolutely. I mean, we're just kind of ramping up. I mean, I did my coaching qualifications earlier this year. So at the moment, it's just me that can do the actual coaching. But we'd definitely be interested in talking to anybody if they're interested in working with us.
And not everybody has to run 100 miles, no?
No, totally not. So we've got some people that are just tackling their first 50k race. We've got like a couple of people that are doing like the Highland Fling in a few weeks' time, and then people that want to push on to the getting towards the 200s.
Brilliant. Can we speak a wee bit about the Backyard Ultra, Stephen, before we dive into Race Across Scotland?
I would think it would be amiss of us not to speak about the Backyard Ultra.
Yeah, because I have no experience apart from being a viewer of it. Right? Stephen has experience of it by crewing his wife.
Aye, that's it. I've not ran one.
Yeah, but I'm interested as well. Did Julie's passion for that? Did Julie crew you, Iain, or what's the set? Because now you're both representing your country as well.
Yeah. So I mean, so I did my first backyard. It would have been, I think it was 2022, and it was just something that I think I'd first become aware of it because like I said, I was kind of always interested in stuff that was going on with the Barkley marathons.
Yeah.
And then, Backyard Ultra was also a product of the mind of Lazarus Lake. So I kind of heard about it and thought, well, this, because really, I mean, I didn't have any grand strategy about like what kind of races I want to do. I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. That sounds interesting. I'll go and try that. So I thought, well, I want to give one of these backyard things a shot. So I went along to the Cowshed backyard, which is in Northumberland, in 2022, and ran that. And Julie was there as my crew, and we, to be honest, didn't really have. I mean, obviously we knew how the format worked and stuff, but we'd never raced one before and didn't really know what you needed to do well at it. And I think I did 27 yards on that one, so 27 hours. And then quit. But there was definitely, like, as I said, I'm quite competitive myself, and there was a bit of a sort of itch to scratch there. And then I went back again, and now I've run 7 of them in total. Yeah, I think 7. And then Julie followed so the second backyard that I did, which was the Godzone Backyard Ultra in Leeds, both me and Julie ran at it. And I think she'd maybe done one herself before that as well. But I mean, I really enjoy it as a format. Like I said, it's got a really good community around it as well. I mean, the ultra community generally is fantastic, but there's definitely a group of people that mainly do backyards, and you see them at the different races around the UK. And it's a funny format because it does get its teeth into you. I mean, I'd say it's a bit of a Marmite thing. Some people love it, some people hate it. But I think once it gets its teeth into you, like every time you do a race, if you win it, then you think, well, I could have gone further. I had to stop because the second place person stopped. So there's always like a thought, could I go further? And of course, if you DNF like everyone else does except the winner, you go, well, why did I DNF? Can I improve that? And so it's very addictive, and you just basically keep signing up for more of them and going back and doing them.
The Godzone Backyard Ultra in 23 is quite unique in that you finished first equal. Say more about that.
Well, so technically we finished second equal because if nobody wins, if nobody goes one lap further, there's no winner. So we were at Godzone Backyard in 2022, which I won that race, and Julie, I think she maybe did 27 yards, something like that. And then we went back again in 2023. We ran the whole race together, and it got down to the point where we were the last 2 runners. And we had talked before about whether we just keep going and like have a race to the death and see how far we could go. But then we kind of decided after the third runner had dropped out the yard before, we're like, well, we've run the whole race together, so we don't really want to race against each other. We've beaten everyone else, so we're just going to stop. And of course, then the backyard rules being what they are, if nobody completes an extra lap over the next place person, then there's no winner. So so whether you want to say we were first equal or second equal, it's a bit of a moot point, I guess. But we didn't get. They had a special goodie bag, so everyone gets like a mug that says DNF or something on it, and it's a special mug for the winner. And we didn't get one of those. We both got losers mugs. So fair play.
But the Bethunes were the winners. There
exactly,
yeah.
And
it was quite integrity
a nice
was
story.
intact. Yes.
And can I just ask, Iain, what is your best effort at the Backyard Ultra now standing at?
Yeah, so at the Rasselbock Backyard Ultra in March this year, I did 51 yards. So that's and I won that event. So again, as I said, in the back of my head, there's someone saying, "Well, you could have gone further than 51." So let's see.
And that's also a course record and a Scottish Backyard Ultra record, yeah.
It is, yeah, that's right. So So in actual fact, so I've got the Scottish men's backyard record at 51, and Julie's got the Scottish women's backyard record at 48. So yeah, that's
well,
quite a
pass
nice
on
little
our
stat.
congratulations to
Definitely.
Julie, but congratulations to you on that. So
I've got a quick side question. I've got a friend who's doing the Rasselbach Backyard Ultra next spring. Would that be about right?
Yeah, it will be. I think it's
Yeah.
a little bit different time, but
Well,
maybe April. Yeah.
It was obviously a good day for you. He'd been recommended that as well, that particular event as well. Any inside info? Is it a nice loop?
I mean, it depends what you like. It's a forestry forestry commission park, so I would say 75%, maybe 80% of the loop is on like packed gravel trails, and then there's a short section, maybe a third of a mile or something, that goes through like wooded single track, so weaving in and out the trees. So I really enjoyed it. It's got a little bit of elevation in it. I think it's maybe like 250 feet per loop, something like that. So it's not pancake flat, but it's not super steep. So for me, it's just it breaks up the running nicely. It's a good course. Loads of people there. You can't get lost. Really well put on event. So your mate's doing it. Hopefully you'll have a good time. Good time next year.
Thank you.
And then you go from Rasselbach, and then you go and finish 4th at Cape Wrath.
Yeah.
When was Cape Wrath?
The Cape Wrath was in the kind of second half of May. It was like maybe like
so there's not a lot of time.
18th of May.
So this has taken me to. How do you recover? Do you generally recover quite well, or is there something that you do specifically with regards to recovery?
No, I mean I think I would say I suppose I race quite a lot. I suppose like I'm probably doing 4 or 5 biggish ultras a year. So I think between Rasselbach and Cape Wrath there would have been maybe 7 weeks, something like that. So generally speaking, like if I've done a 100-mile plus race, I'll probably take a whole week off, then maybe gradually go for some easy runs the following weekend, and then take a couple of weeks to kind of ramp back up to my sort of normal mileage. So I mean, with the 2 races being a month and a half or 7 weeks apart, I would say I probably got up to a couple of weeks of good, decent mileage, and then I was back on the taper again for Cape Wrath. But yeah, I mean, I came out of Rasselbach. Sometimes when you run these races, you just have a race of your life where everything goes well and you feel great. And I got to the end of that, I felt like I could have run for another 24 hours. Who knows if I could or not? But everything felt great. I didn't have any injuries as a result of it, so the recovery was really, really good. I mean, like raced across Scotland, I took almost a full 2 weeks afterwards where I didn't run at all, and that was partly out of like I wanted to look after my body properly, because I've basically since the start of the year I did like about 2 or 3 months solid training block leading up to Rasselbach and then Cape Wrath and then race across Scotland. I've basically been on that race, recover, taper, race, recover, race. So I just wanted to give myself a little bit of a break. And then normally have a bit of a kind of downtime over kind of Christmas time as well. But yeah, I do seem to recover pretty well. And I don't have any like major like sort of chronic injuries or anything like that would stop me from just getting straight back into training for the next thing.
Do you feel a cumulative? I struggle with that word, but I got it not bad there. Do you feel that after doing 3 big events, hence the 2 weeks off after race across Scotland?
I mean, I felt all right after race across. I wouldn't say I necessarily felt any worse than I did after any other race that I can really remember. I mean, I would say like the training that I did at the start of this year, and I lost a lot of weight at the start of this year as well. I shed like 10 kilos over the first 3 months of the year. So I would say I'm like, physically speaking, I'm in the best shape I've ever been. So I think I've been feeling better and recovering better after the races as well. So I kind of could have gone back into training, I think, after like the normal sort of like a week's recovery and a gradual build up. But I sort of made the conscious choice to say I've not got any races coming up really soon, so I'm going to take the time off because I think it'll pay off. It'll give me proper recovery. And I think at work, because like after a week and a half of I was doing a little bit of walking and stuff like that, but no running. I was like, now I'm itching to go for a run. And I think that's a good sign that your body's ready when everything's feeling like you want to go out. So yeah, and I've been back now, probably 2 weeks back at running now, and feeling good on it.
A silly question, maybe, but I do believe the only silly question is the one that you don't ask.
Go ahead.
Did you plan to lose 10 kilograms, or did you have some viral thing?
No. That was the plan. So I mean, whether it's my metabolism or whether it's just because I like to eat too much, I don't know. But I've always had a tendency to put on weight if I'm not making a conscious effort to lose it. So that was something that I was like aware at Christmas time that I just needed to shed a bit.
What changes did you make? Because
so
weight loss is a big thing. So what changes did you make?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously everybody's different and what works for different people and that. But for me, what I did was I switched to a low GI diet. So it's basically you're still getting the same amount of carbs, the same amount of energy, but what it is, it's foods that are slower to metabolize. So the idea is that you don't get the kind of like if you eat and then your blood sugar spikes, you tend to first you kind of tend to that's a trigger for your body to put on fat, and then your blood sugar drops. That makes you hungry, makes you want to snack, and so the theory is that a lot of people kind of go through this up and down all day with their blood sugar. If you're on the low GI diet, it's supposed to keep it flatter. And I think as well, I think part of the effect of it is that because you're restricting what kinds of foods you'll eat, it makes you a bit more careful about your diet, and it does make you cut out all the kind of like sweet snacky stuff that I'd normally eat in the evening. So I think that obviously contributed as well. But yeah, I mean, it helped me. As I say, I lost about 10 kilos between Christmas time and Rattlebock in March. And I've stuck with, I wouldn't say I've stuck religiously with the low GI thing, but I've stuck to it mainly and stayed at a kind of level weight for the rest of the year. So yeah, right. No, I'd recommend it. Yeah.
I'm sure people listening in, hearing anybody that's lost 10 kilograms, not everybody's going, even if they lost 20 kilograms, they're not going to hit the numbers that you're hitting with races and things like that. But anybody that's successfully lost weight, planned weight loss, and then you're still, what you've just described there is brilliant. So a lot of people, I'm sure, will be going checking out low GI as well.
And I think that's the thing, because you can keep the same amount of total calories going in. I was able to train through that. Whereas if you're like just doing like a calorie restricted diet, that's a really dangerous place to be if you're trying to train at the same time, because you can really run yourself into a lot of trouble doing that. So, but yeah, I wrote a bit on the blog about it if people want to read about it. But go and talk to someone that's qualified. And to be fair, I did also talk to. I'm fortunate enough through my work to have access to like private medical, and I talked to a nutritionist and things to kind of check out that it was a good idea to do along with all the running I was doing. So I'm not qualified to advise people on that, but do your own
but you're talking about your experience.
And talk to somebody totally. Yeah.
Cool. Stephen, Ian's mentioned Race Across Scotland a number of times now.
Yeah, well, what Race Across Scotland, right? See, before we delve into it, would you? There'll be people listening who are well familiar with that race and know its route and stuff like that. But there'll be as many people going, never heard of Race Across Scotland. Tell us what Race Across Scotland is first, Ian.
Yeah. So what it is, so it's a single stage, continuous ultra race. It follows the course of the Southern Upland Way. So that's basically the longest of the Scotland's great trails. So it starts on the southwest, almost at the southwest tip of Scotland, at Port Patrick, down in Dumfries and Galloway, just near Stranraer, and then it kind of meanders its way in a sort of northeast direction through Dumfries and Galloway, the central borders, into Berwickshire, and it finishes up on the east coast at Coburn's Path. So that's kind of between Berwick and Dunbar on the east coast there. So yeah, it's run by GB Ultras, and yeah, it's a supported race. They have a good, I think they have 12 checkpoints with support. You can have your own crew. There's certain bits of the course that you're not allowed crew at, but in general, you're allowed crew. You're not allowed pacers, so everybody that's running on the course is completing the whole thing by themselves. And it has a cut-off of 100 hours, so just over 4 days to do the whole thing for the guys who are chasing the cut-offs at the back of the field.
Thank you. And it's 200 and how many miles?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't say the important information. So yeah, the Southern Upland Way itself, I think, is 215 miles on paper. With some of the checkpoints are like they're in village halls that are maybe like half a mile off the route. So I think in total the race route comes out at 220 miles. And I can't remember off the top of my head how much elevation there is in it.
More than you imagine, I think.
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly I would say the first 50 miles and the last 50 miles are relatively flat. They're kind of over kind of farmland and that kind of terrain. The middle section, it goes through. Firstly, there's some fairly chunky hills, just west of Moffat, around that area, and then you come into the Central Borders hills, and then you come down the other side and you're back on the flat and run down the coast. So yeah.
And these hills aren't the highest, but they're bumpy.
Yeah, I think that the highest point is something like about 1,500 or 1,700 feet above sea level. So yeah, they're far cry from the Munros, but yeah, I guess it's people that run like the Spine Race and things like that. Again, they're not in themselves massive hills, but there's just a lot of them on the course on a long distance, and it adds up. And they're not mountainous and technical rocky terrain or anything like that, but there's some pretty stiff climbs in there for sure.
Sorry, John.
It adds up to 23,891 feet, or if you like meters, 7,282 meters. So it's a fair scale.
Yeah, it is, and it all falls into the middle section as well. So there's a 100-mile edition by GB Ultras called Ultra Scotland 100. It's not at the same time; it's a separate event, but it does the middle 100 miles of the Southern Upland Way, which is basically all the climby bit. So yeah, if you don't want to do 200 miles but want to do a nice 100-miler on the Southern Upland Way, that's a good one.
Okay, and you'd already touched on a bit how your training looks for this, but John and I are always keen to understand if people manage to recce routes and stuff like that. Was it a route you were familiar with?
In part, yes. So I hadn't done any like official recces of the route or anything like that. I have done the 100-mile edition in 2022, and then in 2023, Julie ran the 100-miler, and I crewed her, and Buddy ran for the second half of it. And then Julie ran Race Across Scotland, the whole thing, last year, and I crewed her again. So I'd seen all the aid stations. And as I said at the beginning, actually, I grew up and then later in life lived in the Central Borders in Selkirk, literally like 3 miles off the route. So that whole section around between like Traquair and Galashiels, the Minchmoor and the Three Brethren, that was kind of the places that we used to go and walk for a Sunday afternoon walk when I was a kid, sort of thing. So that central area I'm like really, really familiar with. But the first, from the start to checkpoint 4, which is where the 100-mile starts, I'd never run any of that before, and the last half I'd not run either. So yeah, that was all new.
And then what would have been a typical training week for you when you were, in the sort of thick of it, so to speak, for Iain? What does that look like?
I mean, over the whole year, I tend to average about 50 miles a week, which is, I suppose, on the low end for people that are doing long distance ultras. I think I would get up to about, I think I maybe got up to about 70 miles a week as my kind of peak week in the training block leading up to Raz. and I was doing a little bit. I mean, my training's kind of fairly similar for most of the races I would do, but like leading up to Backyard Ultra, I'll do more like focus on run walking and things like that. And then for the lead up to Cape Wrath and Race Across Scotland, I was doing more elevation. So just to kind of prepare myself a little bit more for specifically what I'm going to see in the race.
And you spoke to us before we came on air that you stay in a little town called Bridge of Erne, which is just outside Perth. So
yeah,
a local for as far as John and I are concerned.
Absolutely.
Do you do a lot of your training in the surrounding hills and area for convenience, or do you like to get away?
Yeah, I mean the vast majority of my training is done either as a runs from the house or probably if you look on a Strava heat map, you can work out which sports clubs my kids play at. It'll be like a run from Bell outside Bell Sports Centre or outside the AstroTurf at Bertha Park or something like that. So yeah, I'll the vast majority of my mileage is just around Perth. And then we'll go a bit further afield. Like in the lead up to these races, I usually try and get a couple of like big long hill days, like 20, 25 miles. Tick off a couple of Munros on the way, kind of that sort of thing. But I'm not doing that like every weekend. Life's just too busy for that.
Aye, absolutely.
This is quite unique for Stephen and I. Do you have a favourite local hill that you feel is your go-to?
I mean, a absolute local that I go to all the time is Moncrief Hill. It's literally, if the blind's not shut on the window outside me, you can see it from the house. And I think, I mean, if I take the direct route up it, I can get to the top in about 20 minutes from my front door. So
right.
And it's
a nice wee hill. Plus, there's a wee myriad of different routes that you can mix and match up there as well. Rather than just looping.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a few places you can go. The only downside of it is it's absolutely infested with ticks. So if you go off the path, even if you're on the path, but if you go off the path, you always come back with like 3 or 4 of them up your legs. So
little blighters.
Moncrief Hill is a better hazard. There's a fort up there, and there's a trig point as well. Yeah. A lot of different trails.
So you can go that way, or sometimes if we want, Bridge of Erne, like being in Perth here is great because you've got proper like highlands. You can drive 45 minutes up to Blair Athol, or you can get to Cairngorms really quickly. But it's right in the what's it called? The basin of the River Erne, basically. So there's like a mile or two of flat in every direction before the hills go up. So you can head south into the Ochils, and I'll sometimes do that. Go to like to Drawn and then up the Wallace Road towards Glenfarg and places like that. There's if you want to go and run like maybe 15-mile, 20-mile loops, you can pick up quite a few good wee hills that way as well.
Have you ever done the run through the old abandoned railway tunnels?
I have, yeah.
Right, we'll keep that to ourselves because we didn't want them being. I mean, millions of listeners here, they'll all descend on it, so let's just tease it out.
Well, aye, just not to blow the cover story, but have a look on the blog, and there's some photos of the route on there.
John's sitting there scratching his head going, what's this?
You know what though, listening to Iain talk or wax lyrical about Perthshire, it just confirms to me it's the best place to live in Scotland.
It's a fantastic place to be. Yeah.
Any listener wants to change my opinion,
back to Race Across Scotland, right? So we've done the precursor.
Before we do that, we glossed over it. We should have mentioned that Julie finished first female in Race Across Scotland 2024. So well done to Julie for that.
She did, and that's like after she'd finished. About 5 minutes later, I signed up to have a crack at it the following year. So there was definitely a little bit of a competitive itch to scratch there for sure.
Healthy competition is such a good thing. So. And just in terms of context of where we are, start of September just now. When was the race? Remind us, Iain.
The race was 3 weeks ago, so it was just in the middle of August there.
Okay, and let's take you to the actual race itself. What's your aspirations? Did you have aspirations beyond finishing?
It was a bit of a change of plan. So originally, I was intended to run at the Highlander Backyard, which is the Scottish Four Nations team race, and I was on the team for that. And that was like my A race. and then like 3 weeks later was a race across Scotland, and that was just going to be a go and try and complete it, have a good time. And then due to we had a sort of family medical emergency that meant I had to pull out of the Highlander literally on the Friday afternoon just before the race was due to start. But obviously I'd done a huge training block up to that.
Yep.
So then, obviously that wasn't a great situation. But the silver lining for me was then, rather than having to do 2 races basically back to back, I could totally focus on Race Across Scotland. So what I actually then sort of changed my plans for Race Across Scotland. Obviously in the end I had a great race and was able to win the race. But what my plan was, I'd actually put together a schedule to have a crack at the course record, which I didn't manage quite to do. But that was, I'd gone from it being a just get done in as well as I can to I really want to focus on this. It became my sort of A race for the middle of the year, and I'll gave it max effort.
And I quite like that. That was just sound like a pivot, impromptu, circumstantial sort of
completely
maneuver.
Yeah, exactly. That was never the plan, at the start of the year.
Yeah.
But
bet the person who came
second silver lining from the situation at the Highlander. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you.
We often talk about what time does that race start? At 6 a.m. on the Saturday morning.
Yeah, it starts at 6 on the Saturday. Yeah.
So, talk us through the couple of days. Getting to Portpatrick, because it is literally way on the west coast. What was your preparation for the last couple of days before, and how was sleep the night before? How was that?
Yeah, so leading up to I think I just I took the Friday afternoon off work. So I'd arranged so just through family circumstances and stuff, Julie wasn't going to be crewing me on this one, so I had a friend of mine who I met through Backyards, a guy called Alan Parkin, and was going to be my lead crew, and his son was joining them midway through as well. So they're from Oldham. So basically, I drove down from Perth down to Dumfries. He got the train up. We met in Dumfries, and then we drove together down to the race start. And I slept. I've got a kind of people carrier camper van thing, and so I slept in the back of the van the night before, just like 15 minutes away from the start, so we could get down at the start and get sorted out. And never have the best night's sleep the night before a race, but I must have got probably 6 hours of solid sleep. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get some breakfast into me. We only had to say a short drive down to Portpatrick, and done all the registration and picking up a race number and kit check and stuff. Got all that out of the way on the Friday night as well. So yeah, it's just get down, get changed, and get ready to go. Yeah.
What was breakfast?
Ooh, so I think so I had a porridge pot. My go-to pre-race breakfast is peanut butter and jam sandwiches. So I had a couple of them. Always good, bit of sugar, bit of protein, nice. A couple of cups of tea, and we're good to go.
Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Crunchy, gotta be.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Asking the important questions here.
Yeah,
I know. We're getting into the juicy parts now, the relevant parts. You can probably suss us out, Ian.
No,
and
all good.
That then takes me to, when you go, as you say, it's an unsupported race. What does Iain Bethune carry in his race vest? What's your snackage on the go?
Yeah, so it's supported. You can have crew, but actually for the first 45 miles they don't allow crew because it's all little minor roads and they don't want like 100 crew. Because the race is quite big. I think there was maybe 170 something starters, and probably like more than half of them have their own crew. So you can imagine at the beginning of the race, 100 car, it'd be like descending on these little minor roads. So they don't allow the crews until checkpoint 3. So yeah, I was carrying quite a lot, relatively speaking, at the start. For that, I have race pack with a 2-litre bladder in the back. I tend to use KMC Isomix. That's the Kendall Mint Cake company do sports nutrition now. So I use their energy. This is an energy and electrolyte drink. So I've got that. They do gels, and they do an electrolyte version of the original Kendall Mint Cake as well. So in actual fact, I got through quite a lot of that on the race. I mean, it's basically just raw sugar, but with electrolytes added. So, you know, it works good. What else do I have? Had some trail mix. I'm kind of really into Baby Bells, so take those and get through them quite quickly. Had some crisps and stuff like that. So I do a mixture generally of like solid, like real food stuff, and a bit of sports nutrition as well.
Okay, I like that smorgasbord and the Kendall Mint Cake nutrition, like sort of sports nutrition stuff. I've actually considered it myself. Maybe have to give it a bash. I did like a bit of Kendall Mint Cake when I was at scout camp when I was younger. It was always a bit of a.
I mean, I like it. Like I used to use a lot of the like science and sport gels, and I mean, I've tried Tailwind, but I don't like it. Yeah, I kind of got fed up with those like super sweet, kind of fruity, sticky sweet stuff. The KMC's, I mean, it's you can get it like lemon and lime and raspberry and stuff, but it has a bit of mint in it as well. So it's just like a little bit of an antidote to all that super sweet stuff.
Oh, when I was doing, you're the first person that's mentioned Kendall Mint Cake that do the energy and nutrition. You're the first person that's mentioned that as a guest on the show. So thank you very much for doing that, Iain. I was doing a recce in the lakes, must have been early 2024. I was in the shop and actually picked up a bar of Kendall Mint Cake, not from the supplier you're talking about, but just to have that as something different on the recce, and it was absolutely fantastic. As you say, it's just like sugar in a bar, you know, but it's got that minty taste. For me, using it for the first time, it's just it changes the palate from something different,
totally.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, without kind of jumping ahead in the story too much, but you know, for most of the middle of the race, I was feeling pretty sicky and not really like I ate all that good stuff I was just telling you about. I was like eating like a horse for about the first 12 hours, and then I just felt really, really sick for about the next 24 hours. And in the middle of the race, I think I drank about. Because the checkpoints, I was getting Coke in a soft flask, so I think I went through about 12 liters of Coke and about half a kilo of Kendall Mint Cake, and that basically kept me going for the middle half. And then there's the last checkpoint. It's famous for doing its cooked breakfast, and so I had like a couple of tatty scones with bacon and a cup of tea, and I was quite happy to eat that stuff at that point. So my stomach kind of came round again, and I was able to eat again for the last like 20 odd miles of the race. So you know, it's mad. And it just kind of comes and goes, you know. You can have a plan, but you know, you have to adapt to what you can actually eat. And for me, that was liters and liters of Coke and tons of Kendall Mint Cake. So, you know, whatever works.
For anybody listening to the audio version, it's worth going and looking at the YouTube to see Stephen and I's faces when Iain used the phrase eating like a horse.
It was brilliant. The cooked breakfast, I was like, wait a minute.
It's legendary. So they've got this lovely little hut that's like it's a fisherman's hut that overlooks this reservoir, and they have I mean, when I crewed Julie, she was there in the night, and they have like a log burning stove on. Like if you weren't in the middle of a race, you could stay there for hours and have a great time.
That's the danger.
Yeah, and actually they have mattresses, and I think she had maybe like a half-hour sleep there or something when I was crewing her. I came through it in the daylight, so I was like, and I was in the lead of the race at that time. So I actually phoned the checkpoint guy before, this guy called Norman, and sort of phoned in my order for the breakfast, so that I wasn't going to have to wait around at the checkpoint. So yeah, came in.
Race management.
Scarfed these bacon and tatty scones, and off I went. That was good.
You must. I could imagine you having it in your head, saying, "Oh, this is going to be a right treat," but I'm in a race here, so
yeah, totally.
What's my tactic?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Did you have any sleep at all in the race across Scotland?
A little bit. So I had a sort of 10-minute shut eye on the first night. I'm not sure I was really that actually asleep, but you know, I was lying down and had shoes off and on a mattress and all that for like 10 minutes. And then I had 15 minutes on the second night where I did properly conk out. Although actually I set the alarm for 15 minutes or or told my crew to wake me up after 15 minutes, but I woke up before they woke me because my knees were hurting like hell for some reason, like, which is quite unusual, but it actually woke me up. And then on the morning of the third day, so the Monday morning, it was just before dawn, and I was kind of trying to push through at the dawn. I was like absolutely staggering about like a drunk, like couldn't keep my eyes open. And I was like, at that point, I messaged my crew and said, "Look, you guys need to come and meet me because this is like the wheels are falling off here. I just can't stay awake." And so they drove back from. I woke them up actually. They came back down the course from where they were at the next checkpoint, parked the car up. I fell asleep, like flat asleep in this chair for 15 minutes while they brewed me this like mega like triple espresso coffee thing, and I like then woke me up, necked this like incredible caffeine boost, and I was like, right, okay, time to go, and and headed off. So yeah, so I think if you count the first night, probably 40 minutes of sleep in the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your crew were on point, by the way.
Oh yeah, they were totally awesome, and they took the pictures of me as well and took the mick out of me while I was going. So I think they did their job perfectly.
They even read the small print. In terms then of feeling like you were in the race, were you leading from the off? Did you chop and change? How did that work out, Iain?
No, so I tried to pace it quite sensibly. I mean, I had the plan together that would have got me to the course record with like half an hour to spare or something like that. That was the plan A. But I mean, I've done a few of these races and also learned a lot from Julie's pacing because she's an absolute master of it. You're starting out really, really slowly and then just blitzing past everybody in the second half of the race when they're all either dying or DNFing or whatever, and just moving up through the field. So that was the plan. I think I was about. There's a few people who went out super fast and dropped out and things like that. I think by the time I saw my crew at checkpoint 3, I was like in the top 10, something like that. Okay. And then it was about on the stretch over from Moffat to Ettrick. There was one guy in front of me, and he was like maybe a mile and a half in front. And at some there's GPS tracking, so if you've got phone signal, you can look on your phone and see where people are and how far are they ahead or behind you. So I kind of so there's a checkpoint at Beatock. I went through that, and the checkpoint crew were like, "Oh, he's not far in front. He's not far in front. Go and chase him," kind of thing. And then I sort of gradually caught him up and caught him just before the Ettrick checkpoint. So that's must be well over halfway. It's probably about 120 miles or something into the race. So I'd say I probably did maybe a bit less than 100 miles at the end where I was in first place, but it was quite a long way. And I was kind of looking over my shoulder the whole time because the guy who I had overtaken and the guy who was then in third place, the two of them, I wasn't sure actually looking at the tracker whether they were running together or not, but I spoke to him afterwards and he said the two of them were actually racing really hard for second place. So they were like basically redlining it, probably going too fast. And the two of them sort of motivating each other. They were kind of at some point they were actually catching me up. So in the end, I think I was about 2.5 hours ahead of second place, but it did not feel that comfortable at all. Like I really felt like these guys were like breathing down my neck, and that's why when I was coming to that last checkpoint, I was like, I don't want to be sitting here for half an hour while somebody's cooking my breakfast, kind of thing. Need to keep moving.
Do you like that though? Because that is literally a race. Does that motivate you as well?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love the competitive element of it. Like the way things had happened was that during the first night, I realized that I was not going to be able to keep up with the pace and I needed to beat my course record plan. So I was actually fine during the day, and actually during the second day, I was kind of pretty much back on my pace. But during the nights, I wasn't moving fast enough to keep up with the plan. So after the first night, I was like, okay, right, well, I'll just get my head in the game and make a race of it. So I kind of like the pacing plan went a bit out the window, and I was just like, right, I'll try and chase down the guy in front. And yeah, I mean, that was probably for 6 or 12 hours in the middle of the race. That that focus on trying to catch the guy was what was motivating me. And then once I got in front, trying to keep them behind and trying to build a bit of a lead, definitely pushed me on. If I didn't have that, I'm sure I'd have dawdled around quite a lot more. The only other thing that motivated me towards the end, I'm sure you've probably interviewed him before, but Martin Heggie.
Yeah.
So I got a message from him as I was kind of dawdling along this like endless section of like sort of open moorland. Got a message from Heggie, basically telling me don't be shit, keep moving. And I was like, all right, fine. And then I thought I found another gear and got running. So thanks to him.
Always send a message. Always send a message.
Words of wisdom for Mr.
Heggie. Totally. No, it was absolutely what I needed. Yeah, absolutely.
He keeps it brief, but he hits the mark, does Martin
Heggie. And he did the race last year. So he completed it the year that I was crewing Julie. So I'd sort of seen him and he knew I was running. So it was nice to get a wee message from him.
On the race then, because you spoke earlier on about being adaptable, and you had to be adaptable when you were talking about letting the course record thing go, the pacing wasn't there, and you did the way you obviously won, so it's a good race. But would you change anything? Like you're saying that you caught that guy after 100, 110 miles. Would you prefer to have done that maybe after 150, 160, or have you reflected on that? Or are you quite happy with the strategy?
No, I think it worked well for me in that, as I say, so I've adapted the plan as I went along and started using the people around me in the race as kind of motivation to keep myself going. So I think it did work out really, really well. And yeah, I don't think I don't think I did anything necessarily kind of wrong that put me off the pace. I just didn't, it was always an ambitious thing to try and go after a course record, and I don't think I just didn't quite have the fitness for it. So, if I just, if I'd set a goal which was maybe a little bit slower, then probably things would have worked out roughly the same kind of way, and I'd have moved up through the field and had a bit of a race of it at some point. So, really, really happy with the way it worked out, and it was quite nice in a way to be like doing that section that I talked about at the beginning, from Ettrick, St Mary's Loch, Traquair, all those kind of like the home territory bit of it, to be in the lead and out by myself doing that bit. We really enjoyed that. And as I say, we with falling asleep from the Monday morning, we just managed to keep the wheels on, and that little bit of motivation of tough love from Heggie and the thought of a cooked breakfast, got me to the end.
Brilliant. Love it. We should give another shout out to another previous guest, friend of the show, Ross Beveridge, who captured the finish on social media.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I mean, I had my phone on me all the time, and there was like stuff pinging on my phone, but I was basically just swiping everything away except for messages from my crew and messages from Julie to see, because there was just too much going on. But I'd seen there was some chat in the group chat that Ross was in, but I'd kind of forgotten that said he was going to turn up, because he doesn't live very far from the finish. And yeah, the finish section, you come to the coast and you do about 2 miles along this sort of cliffy coastal path near Pease Bay. And I knew one of the race photographers was there because a drone came over. I was like, oh, they must be filming me for like the finish montage kind of thing. And then I got to the end, and it wasn't a photographer, it was Ross. He didn't actually have the drone. There was a photographer hiding in the bushes somewhere. But Ross was there, and it was really, really good to see him. And then so he saw me on the coast path, and then he legged it to get to the finish as well. So it was great. Wow. Yeah.
We're always interested, Iain, in what kit and stuff you were using.
Aye.
We'll start. What did you have in your feet?
So I had the same pair of shoes I wore the whole race. Mm-hmm. So it's the Salomon Sense Ride 5.
Okay.
So they're my like go-to shoe. In fact, they're my only shoe. I've had them since the second edition, and I think I've got probably about 5 pairs of them in rotation at the moment of different ages. So they're like I'd say they're kind of like a light trail or like a road to trail shoe. So they've got a lot less tread than like an Innovate or one of these proper fell shoes. But they've got enough cushioning that because actually, I mean, Race Across Scotland, although it's got some like boggy bits and like some gravel track and stuff, there's quite a bit of road in it as well.
Okay.
I'd say maybe, I don't know, maybe in total, like, could be like 30 plus miles of road,
Right.
something like that.
Yep.
So, so I mean, some people I suppose would change shoes a lot, but I've found a shoe that works for me on pretty much every terrain. I'll use those. I mean, I don't do very much like proper like hill racing, but even then, like if I do a winter hill race, it'll be a little bit slippier than someone that was wearing a proper like a mud claw or something like that. But they're good for most stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a hybrid number, eh? Like
exactly. Yeah.
You can get away with them on the tarmac as well.
Yeah, they don't wear out madly on the tarmac. Yeah.
And then, what's your favourite bit of kit? Apart, what do you never leave home without? I should say.
Probably. I mean, apart from all the kind of basics that you wear all the time, but the thing that I really love, I've got a really good head torch. It's a lead lenser. I'm not sure if you can get the same model now, but I think it's a Neo 10R, I think it is, and it's mega bright. And the battery lasts really well. So like on a summer ultra, you can get through the whole night on one battery, but it's actually just got a battery you can swap out and change. So you can go for a winter ultra and just go through 2 batteries in the night. But it's ridiculously bright. Like, people think cars are coming towards them if you're running towards them. There was one race that we did. We ran past a farm, and like the rooster, like the cockerel, woke up and started crowing because this head torch, must have thought the sun was coming up.
It's the sun.
So yeah, so it's like a serious high power head torch, and like it's brilliant. You can just see everything through the night.
Okay, good tip. LED lenser head torch.
Yeah, that's the one.
Can I quickly ask about socks? It's become a bit of a fascination for me.
Yeah.
Socks. So did you change your socks, and what socks is your preference, Iain?
I did. So mostly what I wear is the cheapo Carrymore ones from Sports Direct, what they're called Dry Max. I usually wear the they're not very compression-y, but like the knee length compression ones. But so I went probably through about 4 or 5 pairs of them on the race. But what I also had for the two overnight sections for the timing I was running happened to be the boggiest bits, but also because it's quite a lot of the course, there's a lot of like grass that gets dewy in the night, so you just basically your feet just get wet and you can't really avoid it. So I had some waterproof socks. So the ones I had for Raz was from Dex Shell. So I got them recommended to me actually, and bought them specifically for Raz. I mean, I have worn waterproof socks. Got a good pair of ones that are much thicker for like winter, but the Dex Shell ones are really good. And actually, I wish I'd had more than one pair, because the first night I kind of wore them for about probably 6 hours, and even with waterproof socks, you still get a bit of water in. And I wished I had a second pair, and I wore them again on the second night. And my crew had dried them out during the day, and that was fine. But I could have probably done with a second pair, to be honest.
Were they the full fat waterproofs or the light ones? Because Dex Shell, they do a mix, they do both, don't they?
Yeah, they're the ones that they say they're Dex Shell trail running waterproof. So I'm not sure which, but they're advertised specifically as a trail running one.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know whether it's the heavy or the light duty one, but yeah.
Cool.
Cheers, Iain.
No worries.
So I'm conscious of your time actually. So
what
in terms then, finishing the race in first place, crossing that line, emotions, how was it feeling for you, Iain?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was obviously like fantastic feeling. I love that, like getting to the finish of a race, especially if you're winning, you can't beat it. Like the whole, all the aches and pains that you inevitably have at that point in a race just go away, and I've been fortunate enough to win a few races over the last couple of years, and it's brilliant. You can't beat the feeling of it. But I think like kind of reflecting on it a little bit after like a couple of weeks, I'm really pleased with the way I was just like able to put together a plan. It didn't 100% go to plan, but I was able to fix all the issues that came up along the way, and more or less kind of finished it in like good style, and that for me is like, like you can finish a race where you've literally just like dragged yourself to the finish. You really know you're injured already, and like you crawl to the line, and it's a bit. Yeah, obviously it's great to finish, but it's even better to finish in good style. And now it's quite nice. We've got Julie's trophy from last year and my trophy from this year sitting on either side of the fireplace. So that's pretty cool. I don't think there's any other couples that have won Raz. So very pleased with that. Nice little reminder of the race.
And just remind us of your finish time.
Oh, now you're testing me.
John's got it.
I think it was 58 hours and a half, something like that.
No, you're doing yourself an injustice. 58 hours, 18 minutes. So
there you go.
Well, there you go. Well done.
I couldn't have told you the exact minutes, but I knew it was 58 and a bit.
Which is just awesome. And just for context, the course record that you had in your sights at one point, is it at 52 hours something?
I think the course record was a bit over 53. It's like 53 and a quarter, something like that. So yeah, my schedule I'd set was for 52 and a half to try and beat the course record. So obviously I was 6 hours off what I planned, but 6 hours in a 200-mile race is it's not much.
I'm just listening to Iain just now, John, thinking how it must feel coming in and winning a race and all those aches and pains disappearing. I'm never going to experience that.
When you win a race and finish in style, I've done neither of these things.
I always seem to, no matter how wrecked I'm at the end, I always seem to find a little bit for a little finish sprint.
Awesome.
Got to do it.
Yeah, we'll get the drone footage.
Aye.
What's next for you, Iain? You having that 2 weeks off?
Yeah,
you said you're getting back into running.
Just getting back into just had a easy week this week. So yeah, I mean the next the only kind of big race I've got planned for the rest of the year. I'm going back to the God's Own Backyard Ultra in Leeds in November. So obviously you need someone else who wants to go a long way at a backyard as well. But hopefully if we can get that one to 200 miles, then I could get 4 200 milers in a year. It would be quite cool. So that's the last big one for the year. But I'm also in October. There's a 8-hour loop challenge at Tentsmuir, which I'm doing in October. So that'll be a bit different because it's be a bit shorter and faster. To actually for 8 hours, I think I can probably run quite fast. So I'm a bit. Whereas if you're going to run for 200 miles, you're going to be going pretty slowly and doing a lot of walking. Yeah. But for 8 hours redlining it, that sounds actually quite hard. So I'm a little bit scared about that one.
That's almost taking you out of your comfort zone by the sounds of it.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I would say to people that the worst, 10K to half marathon is the scariest distance because you're going really hell for leather, but it's for long enough that it really, really hurts a lot as well. So I mean, obviously 8 hours is a lot longer than a half marathon, but it's still the same thing. It's a lot faster than I typically want to run. So we'll give it a crack.
That'll be interesting.
Awesome. Right, Stevie boy, I think we better wrap this up. Iain's been very kind with his time. So
he has. Thank you, Iain. Yeah. So first up, Iain, is as customary at this stage of our podcast interviews, we like to ask our guests for a local dialect word or phrase, something that we can throw into the Young Hearts Run Free Dialect Dictionary.
Yeah, well, so I had to think about this, and I don't think this isn't a dialect word, but it's a word which maybe I've made up. I don't know, or if I've heard it somewhere. So the word is automagical, which is a combination of automatic and magical. So if you're your Garmin does something that you didn't quite expect, but it's a great result. It's it happened automagically, and I use this word quite a lot for random things that happen on my phone or on my watch or my computer. And Julie says that's not a word, you've made that up. So there you go. You can have that one.
Let's make it a word.
It's not really a Scots dialect, but
that's okay.
There you go.
Automagical. I'm going to try and use that phrase at work this week. So see how it goes down.
And you blessed us with eat like a horse as well. So that's a right good phrase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Iain.
John.
Our last question is a musical one. I don't know if you listen to podcasts or music or you prefer the sound of nature, but if there's a track or a song that you'd like to share with the Young Hearts Run for your listeners, new playlist, first track on it is going to be from Iain Bethune. So what would you like to add in?
We'll make it a good one. Yeah. No, I did put headphones in on the first night on Raz, actually. And I've got quite a nice playlist now that's kind of my ultra playlist. It's got loads of stuff in it. So, but I think if I had to pick one, I'm going to go back for some 90s cheese, because the 90s is the best decade. And we'll go with Chesney Hawkes, the one and only. So that one was originally on there as a backyard ultra playlist, to say I'm the one and only that's going to finish the race. But it's actually quite a good one, and it gives me a smile whenever it comes on. So we'll go with that one.
And it's one of these ones. There is no intro. It's just boom right into the song, isn't it?
Yeah, totally, exactly. That's it.
I love it. Thank you very much for that. How is Chesney?
And I have been known at a backyard ultra to actually, even though I've got my headphones in, I'll sing it just to annoy the other people around me. So
sending a message. I am the one.
I'm the one and only. Yeah.
I'm the one. And certainly in Race Across Scotland that we spoke mostly about tonight, you were the one and only winner.
Yeah. In the end.
Got there. Yeah. So
brilliant.
Very much aware of timings. Thank you so much, Iain. I think, Stephen, we leave that door open for Iain for a return chat, because there's loads to speak about.
We've. It feels like we've really scratched the surface, Iain. There was lots of sort of avenues that we could delve down. So if you'd be up for a return visit, John and I would really appreciate it. I must say, when you were saying Raz, that's a dialect dictionary word for Perth, actually. You'd go for a Raz about the tune, eh, John?
There you go.
Yeah,
or a little race across Scotland.
Tooting about, basically means tooting about.
Yeah,
go for a Raz in the car. So there you go. There's another one.
I'd use that one. Yeah, definitely.
So there you go.
No, I had a great time chatting to you guys, and I know we're just about out of time, but I'm more than happy to come back and chat anything about ultras or backyards or whatever you fancy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Well, it's been fun.